Hi guys, how are you all doing? So, I want to talk about guilt. Guilt! One of the things that I've noticed over the years, you know, in my awakening journey is, obviously there are God knows how many mechanisms and nefarious, underhanded gaslighting operations going on, but a very big motherfucker of those, the biggest motherfucker of those, well, one of the biggest motherfuckers of those, is guilt. Guilt. You know, we wander around life, our life experience, you know, we believe it to be real. We're told that everything is the way it is because, you know, it's our fault. You know, it's our fault, and humanity is some sort of, you know, we're likened to some sort of nefarious dark virus or bacterial life form. You know, that's kind of like an external manifestation and thought program of the self-hatred, the self-loathing. But another thing that closely follows on from there, I've noticed over and over again, is this guilt, this sense of guilt that they manage to somehow put into us. When I say they, I suppose I am referring to the powers that be, but then ultimately I'm really referring to the mind parasites, that is the Archons. They're just these external the external manifestations of that is things like, you know, the powers that be and all these shadowy groups and people, terrestrial, non-terrestrial and whatnot, you know, they're all up to no good, and that all have a vested interest in humanity living on its knees in filth. Alright, but they're just heavily infected with the mind parasites, and that is why they do what they do. So that's why I refer to them like that. And of course that isn't real. Oh, it's one of these days. I mean, you know, I feel like doing a video, then I sit down to do a video and it's like, anyway, I'll carry on, I'll just keep going and maybe it'll actually go somewhere. It's guilt, right? So every day, whether you like it or not, whether you watch the news or not, and any sensible souled individual will stay the fuck away from the news and the mainstream media, but somehow it has a way of just slapping you in the face through the world around us, you know, DLPs. I mean, I just had to stop to get some petrol, and there's all the newspapers in the stand, and they're like there. It's always there, and it's always bad news, and there's always people dying of Ebola, or, you know, also the cancer this and the cancer that, and oh, we're fighting cancer, yes we are, and, you know, there's litter everywhere, there's rubbish everywhere, there's car exhaust fumes everywhere, there's 5G, there is all kinds of shit. I mean, the list is endless of shit that is happening every fucking day, that is there in your face, and the way we feel about that, or at least in part, is we feel guilty, we feel responsible, we feel as if it is our fault. I remember feeling that way when I was a child, because in school they used to tell us, they used to teach us in a kind of really gaslighty, roundabout way that humanity is bad, humanity is evil and bad and disgusting, and it's all our fault. So you grow up with that burden of guilt, this burden of, oh, it's your fault that everything is shit. And it's a giant lie. It's just a really bad giant lie, people. It's bullshit. And, you know, what is it that George Carlin always used to say? It's bullshit and it's bad for you. Because how does this giant lie affect us in our daily behavior? It makes us into doormats. It makes us feel that we have to go around rescuing everything and everyone, and we have to go to the park and pick up all the litter. We have to be nice to everybody all the time. We have to put up with shit that nobody should put up with ever. you know, we have to tolerate and accept and yield and whatnot and whatnot and whatnot. And it's all fucking toxic bollocks, basically. It creates almost like the guilt is so heavy and so intense and so severe and so slippery and insidious that it creates a mental fog, like a fugue state, whereby, because we go into a denial, oh, can't deal with that, can't deal with that. I say, look it in the eye, you know, there it is. Yeah, I feel really, really guilty. And it makes me feel like absolute shit. It makes me feel really almost like physically sick. How come it's there in me? Why am I carrying this heavy, heavy burden around with me? Why do I feel like it's all my fault? Well, people, because it was put there, it was cramped down your neck from an early age by the system, alright? And it's a lie, you're not guilty at all, you're beautiful, precious beings. You are creator beings and you're magical beings, but you know, we found ourselves, we were born, we came through into this game, and it's a quest, and of course there is no quest without, you know, the, what is it, without the evil ones. You know, there always has to be a protagonist and there always has to be a foe, and the foe in this case is the feeders. The feeders want to live and the feeders want to keep us trapped. And so it's all about that. Guilt is a massive, massive, massive chain around our necks. So we need to first acknowledge that this is what is going on within us, that we have this massive burden of guilt that we drag around with us everywhere we go. And that secondly, it affects us in a myriad of ways that we can address, beginning right now. So right now, I'm sure most of you have noticed that there are two types of people in life. There are feeders, generally they're OPs, they're very narcissistic, they're all me. You know, when you meet them and say, how are you, which you should never do, because, you know, because this happens, they start going on and on and on and on and on and on and on about their problems. They're not interested in anything you are going through. They don't care about you. They don't give a fuck. They don't give a damn. All they want is they want to literally bludgeon you to death with their problems. So you need to stop talking to people like that. You need to realize that you are not responsible for other people. You're not responsible in any way or shape or form. Most people aren't even real, so they're neither here, they're neither there, they're nothing at all, and it doesn't really matter, right? Don't get involved in their dramas. They're petty, and they will suck you dry. Don't do it, people. Focus on your inner journeying. Keep going within and keep letting go of the drama as you find it in the world around you and as you find it in your own head. The drama in your own head causes you unpleasant emotions, and so that in and of itself is quite, you know, it's quite a journey to learn to let go and to keep letting go, even though you keep being, you know, washed over by deluge after deluge of weird schismy thoughts and emotions of fear and not being safe and feeling guilty because, oh, it's all my fault, why do I feel all the weird insane crap that is going on. I mean, this is what we deal with on a day-to-day basis. This is what we are healing. So we don't have time to take responsibility for everybody else's shit. So be aware of the feeder people, the narcissists out there who do not care about you. They only want to talk about themselves, right? Or giving money to charities that invariably just line their pockets. That money never goes where it's needed, right? They're just, again, they're parasites, they're feeders. Life is full of people and institutions and systems, you name it, that are all there for one reason and one reason only, and that is to parasite, to feed. But they always dress themselves up as something else. They always dress themselves up as being there because they care, because they're there because they do such great work. Or, you know, these people, for example, these feedy people, they always lure you in with a facade of, oh, how are you doing? To which you reply, well, you know, not so great, how are you doing? Oh, there. Oh, it's all about me, it's all about me. And before you know it, you're like half an hour down the road, and they're still giving all that, and you can't even get a word in edgeways, you know what I mean? So it behoves us to become extremely discerning with regards to the world around us, like what is what in the world around us, right? If it's feeder, if it's parasitical, then stay away from it. Don't get involved. There are times, you know, where you come across people or whatever situations that require some inputs, that require some compassion, some genuine heartfelt empathy, compassion, support, inspiration, whatever, and it feels right in your gut. So, and you happen to be there, and you happen to be in a state of being to be able to give that then and there, and that is good, and we do that. You know, we inspire each other, we love each other, we care. True. But we have to have boundaries, and boundaries depend very much on our ability to discern on what is what, because this world, like I said, it's the world of the feeders, the archons, the mind parasites. It's all parasitical. Everything feeds of everything else in a constant feeding kind of, feeding frenzy, and it's no good. You know, we have to learn to disentangle ourselves from that, to detach from that. I mean, there were people in my life that I had to get rid of, that I had to cut them off. I had to just get rid of them, because it was like I was being sucked dry every time I spent any amount of time with them. It was appalling, and because that is all I'd known, especially having narcissistic parents, you're used to being fed on, so that is your normal, but it obviously isn't. In your awakening journey, all of a sudden you reach a point where you realize what is going on. You think, whoa, that person, that's not a friend, and that's not really a good person to be around. That's my sister, but no, can't be around her anymore. This sort of shit, you know, and you start to have to walk away. But it also pertains to anybody that you might meet in the supermarket, anybody that you might meet anywhere at any given time. Always trust your gut instincts with regards to everything and everyone and everywhere, because it will always tell you what is what. Because most people that are not in awareness are just fed off all the time. And it just leaches us dry, you know, and all of it hinges on this: you're guilty, it's all your fault, so you have to give, and you have to give, and you have to allow yourself to be fed off of, you have to allow yourself to be sucked dry by all these needy, feedy people everywhere, these vampires everywhere. Maybe we should all get a giant wooden cross and, I don't know, several strings of garlic. Maybe that puts them off, I don't know, but I kid you not, they're everywhere, and I see them, I notice them straight away, because I practiced. I had to learn the hard way over and over and over again. Yeah, I really did have to learn the hard way, because I really was like a rescuer, you know. I felt that I had to look after everybody and had to be all things to all people at any given time, and oh boy, they loved all that. It was like, oh, here's a Mika, take, feed. No, I mean, I had to, even recently had an experience of that nature, where I had to, it came to me as a reminder to say, Anika, see, you still have a tiny bit of that in you. Now, let it go. Let these people go, because they lure you in. They're ever so nice and so charming and so this and so that. They lure you in, and before you know it, you're literally there in a corner whilst they're blasting all their shit and all their trouble at you and all over you. It's like being vomited on. I mean, it's appalling. So we don't deserve that. We are not guilty of anything. We were born into this world. We didn't make it like this. We were wounded, we were abused, we were violated and brutalized and gaslighted and manipulated. So our mindset and our actions were quite often of a negative bent. Wounded people wound people, and animals and nature and so forth and so on. But you see, forgiveness is very important when we enter this awareness, because it's time, people, that we forgive ourselves for all the perceived sins that we have committed. We have to allow ourselves to let that go by now. Because it's a massive millstone. It's this whole guilt thing. And it keeps us totally trapped and disempowered. And it also makes us believe that we deserve to suffer. That we deserve to suffer and we have to work hard. Ooh, everything. It's like nothing ever yields anything because we're so bad and we're so guilty. So no matter what we do, we'll never yield results. We will never get anywhere. Nothing. We're never good enough and we're never going to get anywhere. And we're just shit. We're shit. And we have to let all these people abuse us and suck us dry. And the systems and the governments and the secret societies and this and that. And they're all sucking everything within everything. Wheels within wheels of feed. All because we feel so worthless and so guilty. When we did not make the world this way. In fact, we're all good people. I know this. I can feel this. We're here full of love, full of compassion, full of empathy, making a difference every day as we go. See? We are always the opposite of what the mind parasites tell us. The mind parasites will tell us that we're dirty, disgusting, guilty, worthless, bad, powerless. And for all these years that we've been alive, we've believed that. We've believed that all of that. That has been our truth and our story, and we've behaved accordingly. Storing up more guilt subconsciously. All this, this is bad, but I'm doing it anyway, subconsciously. All this crap, And then you awaken and more and more of that comes up to be harmonized and alchemized, composted, alchemized. Yet more, we see more, we awake more. And so love, the power of love, which is truth, helps us see and recognize what is what and gives us discernment to say, So there's a woman, right? There's a guy who lives down the road here and he has learning difficulties. He's a complete organic portal. I mean, he loves his smart meter and he's just, it's not good. And his mother and him are both the type of people that you have to be extremely careful with because, and I mean, a couple of weeks ago I was there in the car park on my way to my car and she's there and she came up to me and she starts mouthing off straight away about something that the housing association had done, had said, a letter, something, big drama that I couldn't help her with in any way, shape or form. Ergo, why is she talking to me about it? But you see, they like to laden you down with their shit. So you have to make very short thrift of it. And I said to her, excuse me, sorry, can't stop now, I've got places to go and people to see. Put your hand up and say non SERVIAM. No. No is a good word. No. I always like that symbol. It's the hand of Fatima. And it's saying, I'm not having any of this. Get the fuck away from me. Right? The art of not giving a fuck. It doesn't mean that we are callous, cold-hearted bastards. Because we're not. You're not. That's right. Because we are good people, we are full of light and full of love, but we're not doormats. We're not doormats and we're not here to be all things to all people, and we're certainly not here to be abused by organic portals and their drama and their shit. Because they're just full of the feeder energy and the feeders want to live, and so that plays out. It's for us to say no to that. I feel strongly about this, you can tell. You see, because all my life I've had, because of now having narcissistic parents, you see, that sets you up for a lifetime of this kind of crap. It's like, well, I need to be loved, I need to be loved. How do I get the love that I need? Oh yeah, by being all things to all people. So you become almost like a chameleon. You lose sight of your true self because you're so busy trying to get approval, trying to get some love. And you'll find you never get the approval you need, you never get the love you need, because you're not loving yourself and you're not really approving of yourself. You're just giving and allowing all the feeders to suck you dry. So it's all bullshit, people, but that is where we've been. And we're all coming out of that now. But it's really just a case of really standing our ground with that now and noticing, knowing where that comes from. The guilt programming, you know, you have to be all things to all people, you know, you have to be a social justice warrior, you have to sort the world out, we need to do this and we need to do that and we need to go and protest and constantly giving of ourselves to all these, oh man, and, you know, rebellion and protesting and all of this and giving to this and giving out all the charities, we must go and all this torturous crap never ever gets us anywhere. I'm sure you've noticed that as well. It never changes a damn thing. It feeds the very system. It's like, I'm against this, I'm against drugs, I'm against war. So you're feeding war and you're feeding drugs because you're against it and you're resisting and you're fighting and all of this insane and utter crap and bollocks. And all we need to do is to keep letting go, release, non-SERVIAM. I'm not playing these fucking games anymore. I see all these people and all these dramas and all this crap, and you know what, I'm just going to walk way over there, well away from all that. Stay away from it, people. Cultivate the art of not giving a fuck. When it's time to care, when it's time to act decisively with love, discernment and knowing, we know, we always know. Because we are emissaries of the Great Mother, so we are always where we need to be. Always. And it's important now for us to learn to say no to all forms of darkness. Because it's all bullshit, you know, all these corporations that you get. Like there's one called Sherwood Homes around here, and they're evil incarnate, but they always make themselves look wonderful. That they always have these ads that look a bit like the Watchtower, you know, the Jehovah's Witness magazine, the Watchtower. They always make that look really nice, don't they? But hey, it's evil. And it's like that as well with these corporations. And they put these big things up saying, oh, we've planted so many trees. And it's like, well, why do you need to tell us about it? Why not do your good deeds because you want to, and because knowing that you have done it makes you feel good? Why do you need to tell everybody about it? You see, feed. It's all nefarious, gaslighty nonsense that we are, you know, increasingly seeing now and increasingly able to walk away from, because enough is enough. And yeah, bit cranky today, people. Yeah, feeling a bit cranky, feeling a bit fed up with that, because I see it play out all the time. And sometimes you get tired, sometimes you do really get so worn out, because you have to do it over and over and over and over again in any given day. It's like, well, another one comes at you, and another one comes at you, and another situation comes at you, and another letter from so-and-so telling you that you owe them money when you know damn well that you don't, and they're just taking the fucking piss and trying it on. So it's like a constant battle, almost, you know. Because there is that belief in us, isn't it, that we're guilty and we deserve to suffer. We're guilty, it's all our fault, we're bad, we're guilty and we deserve to suffer. So we manifest this shit. You know, that is part of the equation here, and that sucks. That sucks more than anything that has ever sucked before. Beavis and Butthead. But we will fight the good fight, and we will get there, because this is the kind of shit that we need to look straight in the eye and acknowledge and say, well, hey, I see that, and it isn't true. We have to remind ourselves perhaps on a daily basis of how beautiful we are, you know, and how amazing we are, how creative we are, how full of love we are, how we've brought so much light into this world by just being in it, by just being increasingly our true self. You know, we're not martyrs and we're not rescuers, but we have given this world a shitload of love and a shitload of empathy. And we are beautiful, radiant, magical, creator beings. And all of that is a fact. It's the opposite of what the feeders tell us. But we can get so stuck in that still, because it's like we've been in a cult. You know, you get these people that these deprogrammers that work with people that have been in cults for many years, and they need to be deprogrammed because they're that, you know. And we're a bit like that. We've been in the feeder, the parasite cult for so many years. From the minute we're born, you know, it's part of our DNA. When we're born into it, with it in us. It's Woo. So it takes a little while. And again, it's to have patience with that. And when we do get it wrong, it's not to beat ourselves up and say, oh, but to say, oh yeah, oh, okay, that's all right, I've gotten it wrong, but hey, that's good because I've learned from that. Mistakes are perfectly all right, but you know, and forgiveness. Allow for the mistakes, because I still make mistakes all the time, we all do, but you see, every time we make a mistake, we learn more, we grow stronger, wiser, more discerning, you see. And forgiveness. And also forgive those who trespass against us, not because we give anything, but because we realize that by letting go, forgiveness really is just letting go. It's not saying, oh, I agree with what you're doing, or I allow this to happen. It isn't like that, but it's by letting it go, and letting go of that hatred and rage and resentment and anger and God knows what else. We are clearing it out of our own system, thereby it cannot harm us, because we don't want that. Bit rambly today, people, I do apologise. But yeah, it just really gets under my skin. It does get under my skin, and I need to let that go today. I need to focus on really releasing that today, because I do feel angry about it. Because I see it. I see the feediness of this world, the parasitical bollocks, and it drives me mad. And I have to release and let that go, because when I'm crankily wrestling with that, I'm actually just keeping it alive, and I'm actually feeding it. It's so insidious, people. It's just so insidious. But by the by, we will disentangle ourselves from this oily shit. And we can start by recognizing that guilt is a major mechanism that keeps us trapped in this shit. And that keeps us thinking that we have to give and be something that we are not, and give something that we're not willing to give. Because we are number one, I am number one, I give to myself, I look after myself, I uphold myself and honor myself and love myself and care for myself. Then, if by in the course of life I see a situation and I'm feeling, okay, yeah, then, okay, I do. You know, I rescued my cats, I felt that was the right thing to do, and it was a wonderful thing to do. Sometimes, you know, we do help out, we do support, we do inspire, we do serve. We are of service in a myriad of ways, large and small and everything in between. But we are not here to be fed upon by the dark side. That is what we are not here for, and that is not something that we will do. Anyway, I'm going to call it a day, and just remember, people, whatever the mind parasites tell us, it's always a lie, and the opposite is always true. So if we have these days, you know, where you're really going through a massive purge and you feel really worthless and powerless, then imagine that the opposite of that is true, because it's always the opposite. You're beautiful. You're so valuable. You're so precious, powerful, creative. And as long as we stay the course and keep doing the work, it will all work out beautifully. And I know it's been going on and on and on, and there are days, many days, where you think, is this ever going to go somewhere? I feel that way often enough, I do. But I always remind myself of how much gnosis I have gained. And that somehow, even though troubles do appear, often enough they're catalytic in nature, and they always get solved really quite wonderfully. We always seem to get what we need when we need it, and so forth and so on. I know this is meaningful, and I know that we are on the rise, and it's getting interesting. So we need to just stay the course and, you know, stick with it, and it will begin to yield results more and more. Okay. Toodaloo, people.